And now, Rafe and Craig in the big city. And now, Rafe and Craig's excellent adventure. And now, Rafe and Craig talk about Gen Con without Russ.
Hi, and welcome to a special sneak peek episode of the D6 generation where Rafe and I, with the help of our friend Sid, are going to totally hijack the D6G this week and tell you a little bit about Gen Con. I am Craig Gallant.
I'm Rafe Hollywood Granger.
And this is special guest, Sidalicious.
Sidalicious. Sid is our fall gamer.
I might jump an open drawbridge or Tarzan from a vine, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that makes Eastwood look so fine.
Now what? That's killing me.
No.
What do you mean by fall gamer? I don't get that.
Okay, fall guy is a technical Hollywood term. You should know this, Hollywood. Is a technical Hollywood term for a stuntman or a stand-in.
Oh yeah, I have that. Sid is my stunt guy.
Exactly. Well, he's our stunt guy. He took your place last time in the last tournament, and he took Russ's place throughout Gen Con. You have anything to add to that, Sid? Or no? Sid doesn't talk a lot. Apparently, his contract doesn't include a lot of verbal communication.
Well, we did tell him he couldn't talk when we were there.
Well, that's true. We said stand in the background. Okay, so basically, this is a little mini bonus episode. It does not come in anywhere along the line of our lined up numbered episodes. It's not 13.5 or anything like that for legal obligations, which interestingly enough, Russ is concerned with, and our lawyer is all set.
Yeah, I'm not concerned at all.
Okay, so basically it's a little mini bonus episode. We're throwing it out there because we're going to go through some changes with the D6 generation schedule over the next couple of weeks, and mainly it is to do with the fact that Russ is on vacation still, and we wanted to give you guys something. We weren't going to be able to do a full episode. We wanted to give you something before we hit the airwaves again. We are going to do episode 14 when?
Next week.
Next week. It's going to come next week on, it's going to download on or upload or whatever. I don't know. I'm not the computer guy. It's going to be on our website on Saturday, August 30th. Okay, so, and we're going to start, the episodes are going to be hitting on Saturday now instead of Friday, mainly because school starts for me on Monday, and we're going to start with our play production right off the bat, so I'm not going to be able to podcast on the same day. So we're going to be a day late starting next week.
Right.
We're missing this. Normally, you would be listening to episode 14, but instead you're listening to our awesome mini bonus episode.
Sneak peek. We're
not going to wait another 2 weeks to reset. We're actually just going to start. We're going to do episode 14 next week, and then episode 15 will be 2 weeks after that. We're just going to reset the schedule a little bit. In this episode, we're not going to have any of our normal segments. So, as Russ would say, you don't have to suffer through rapid fire. Rafe doesn't do a Hollywood Minute. We're not going to do a Did You Ever Notice. We didn't even tell the wives we were doing this. So it's all kind of a mystery.
I hope my wife's not listening because I'm supposed to be working now.
Yeah, that's all. We have hijacked Rafe's law offices, the Granger law offices in Manchester, New Hampshire. So we tried to break into the Wakeland compound, but we couldn't do it.
Yeah, but he did manage to take all the recording equipment, so we are all sharing one mic. So we hope the sound is okay.
Yeah, and we're glad nobody has a photo.
And Sid should be working. While he's podcasting.
It's interesting. I think Sid's the only one getting paid for this, actually.
I'm working as a fall guy right now.
That's true. He is a fall guy, the fall gamer.
That's double time and a half.
There you go. Okay, so what we're going to do is give you a quick overview of Gen Con, which was awesome.
To say the least. We loved it.
Absolutely. They say it's the best 4 days in gaming, and I could not agree more.
I say it's Vegas times 10 for me.
It's absolutely, and that's coming from Rafe, who loved Vegas. So what we're going to do is just give you a brief overview. We're going to talk a little bit about what we saw. We're going to give you a couple clips. Rafe and I ran the recording nonstop. So it's going to be pretty cool. And what Russ wants you to know is that there's way more to follow. We have hours of awesome interviews. We've interviewed people from Fantasy Flight, from Privateer Press. We've interviewed people from all over the con, and we've got some amazing stuff for you coming up. So this is just a preview, sneak peek, quick taste of what's to come.
Should we give them little teasers of of who we got coming in episodes 14, 15, and so on.
Okay, why don't you tell them about some of the upcoming guests?
All right, we've got to talk to Eric Yapel, who was the lead developer on Monsterpocolypse, and we got a great interview with Matt Wilson. You all know who he is.
Awesome interview with Matt Wilson.
That's just to name two. I would say we also talked to the lead designer for Battlestar Galactica, a bunch of people from Fantasy Flight, not including, and I'm going to leave these as a surprise, Craig and I just walked around and about 5 to 8 other companies, lead people in these companies wanted to talk to us in terrain, all sorts of cool stuff.
It's going to be awesome. We have a schedule right now that is second to none in podcasting, and we were loaded down with free stuff for you guys. These companies gave us stuff for you. We've got starter sets. We've got full boxed games. We've got promo minis. We've got signed special editions. We have 2 suitcases full of stuff that we brought home for you. And that doesn't include all the stuff that we're getting shipped. So we promise you that we're going to hit new heights soon. This episode, however, just a bit of a sneak peek.
Yes, and so we got those from Privateer Press, Flying Frog Productions, Fantasy Flight. These are stuff, by the way, guys, if we get it out quick enough, you can't get them in stores yet.
That's right. We have all of this stuff, and it hasn't been released yet. So we're going to try to schedule as many of these contests as possible so you get a chance to win stuff that's not available yet. We do have a couple messages from Russ before we continue.
Wait a minute, he's not even here. He's freaking running the show.
I know, it's ridiculous. He
What
wants to
messages?
remind you. They're reminders. He wants to remind you of the poem contest. We've got some awesome poems, really funny stuff. Get your poems in. You've got another week and a half to 2 weeks, I think. And this is awesome. There's 2 fully painted units from paintedfigs.com, and you could win them just with a little literary effort. He also wants to remind you guys that our auction shoutouts are up and running, and you have got just about a week, I think, from when this hits. This is hopefully going to hit tomorrow, which is Saturday the 23rd. Thank you, Sid.
You're welcome.
And hopefully this is going to hit. You'll still have a week. And remember, you can phone in your poems. We want to get some audio from you guys. Our phone number now is 1-339-368-6051. You can also go to the website, the D6generation.com, and click on the link right there and leave it for us there. Okay? And finally, Rafe and I and Sid really want you to get the word out. Start spreading the word about the D6 generation, because we want as many people as possible to have a chance at all this stuff. And to be totally honest for a moment, we put in a whole bunch of work at Gen Con, and we're kind of hoping to see dividends in at least the numbers of people that we pull in. So get the word out there, tell them what we've got coming, and we want to hit the ground running with episode 14.
But don't tell them they can enter the contest. You can just keep that for yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, please let them know that there's all this stuff. I need to get it out of my basement.
Wait, I thought you guys were promising that out to me just for doing this podcast with you.
Yeah, that's not true.
Damn it.
Okay, so that's all we got right now, and we're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back with our first Gen Con preview episode segment.
Hey, Dave, it's Don here. I'm at Gen Con. If you're listening, you couldn't make it.
My name is Mark. I'm at Gen Con, and you should do what I'm going to do and listen to the D6 Generation podcast.
Identify yourself, my lord.
This is Matt Wilson of Privateer Press. You're listening to the D6 Generation. Clear like you got a pair.
Okay, and we're back. We've just snagged Sid away from World of Warcraft to do the next segment. The next segment is going to be our preliminary feelings and impressions about Gen Con. We took a bunch of audio as we were going around, and we're going to intermix our audio in with this, our little walk down memory lane as we go. Once you get into Indianapolis, the city was amazing. It's a beautiful city. It's a newer city. It's not like these cities we have up in the Northeast where they've been here for a couple hundred years. Indianapolis is clean. The streets are wide. The buildings all look new, and the thing that I was taken with was how huge the convention center complex was, with all of the big hotels all connected with sky bridges.
Yeah, the thing that struck me the most was the weather. It was beautiful. It was blue skies, nice even temperatures. And when you walked outside the convention center, we'll get into this later, the people there, you felt at home with all us fellow gamers. And I also liked chainmail bikinis.
Ah, yes, the chainmail bikinis. We'll talk about those in a moment. Most major cities, you have big banners on the street lamps and everything.
Right.
The street lamp banners in Indianapolis all said, "Welcome Gen Con." I mean, it was the whole city seemed to open up for gamers, and because it took place in the entire city center, all of those hotels were involved also. So you had every one of these hotels hosting gaming events, and there were gamers everywhere. And not just black shirts, of which there were many. We're talking costumes. We're talking... I was impressed with the number of Firefly TV show shirts that I saw. I mean, they were everywhere. And unfortunately, I was wearing mine, but you couldn't see it because I had on my cool light blue D6G shirt on.
Yeah, so to talk about the convention, it wasn't a convention hall. So there's one mega hall there filled with vendors, and then you'd walk down, you'd have this map, and there were, 25 rooms of various sizes that had all sorts of different companies going on there, games going on in there, and then in the different 4 or 5 hotels, for example, we stayed in the Marriott, the True Dungeon was being held in there. So it was this really neat experience that when you left the convention center, you weren't leaving Gen Con.
Right. I mean, and all the restaurants and everything were really welcoming, and especially in the first 2 days, you could see people dressed up as Darth Vader or in Rafe's already commented on the chainmail bikini, and nobody was batting an eyelash. Nobody was taking a second glance. Well, you'd take a second glance at the girl in the chainmail bikini, but that's something different. You really felt like it was normal, and you felt like you belonged, and you felt like the culture was really welcoming. Unfortunately, what that does is it sets up the perfect storm for what kind of personality type, Sid?
Well, I'm a Pats fan, but the Colts fan descended upon Indianapolis on day 3 due to the opening of the new stadium. And at that point, I believe there's a lot more judging that happened. I didn't really encounter it myself, but I think Craig and Rafe did.
That's absolutely true, but I'm referring to the gamer stereotype that you ran into at the restaurant.
That one. The hammerhead, yes. I actually didn't know what a hammerhead was, but I had the pleasure of actually experiencing one.
So why don't we share with you a little bit of sound right now of Sid's first encounter with a hammerhead.
We're just going to leave this a little bit. We're going to see if you can hear the hammerhead.
You don't want to know because you don't have enough.
Perfect. Good timing.
So you can't really tell what he's saying, but in the background you can definitely hear this guy. What you miss on the audio is that he's dressed as a monstrously huge Viking and was just wandering from table to table, basically talking to all of these people. And it really bothered Sid.
And it didn't end at all. He just kept on going the whole time.
It was really, really loud.
Actually, I think it bothered me the most. Sid was like, I'm used to this from living at living at home. So it sounds like his mom or something, I think.
So in the Sid household, you got a lot of Vikings wandering around, do you?
Pretty much.
Well, we won't go into that anymore. Okay, so the interesting thing, we didn't hook up with Sid until later in the day on Thursday. The interesting thing that happened to Rafe and I was that we got lost.
We are wandering around. We've got our press badges. We have everything we need. We are a little overwhelmed with the costumes.
Yes.
There is live music everywhere. And
like minstrel. What's it called with no music?
Acapella.
Yeah.
Big dragon footprints on the floor. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
And we are moving towards the hall as we speak. We took a wrong turn, actually, and so we're moving towards the hall inadvertently. Rafe doesn't know we're heading towards the hall yet. He thinks we're still in the same hallway, so that's kind of interesting.
We got lost inside this huge convention center and wandered into what we thought was the exhibit hall, and it had a very unfortunate effect on our emotional state.
Yeah, we are totally lost at this point. We are now in the locker world. We've got lockers. We are now in the back area. There's a dumpster. I don't know. I don't think much of the decor. Look, there's a golf cart. There's a lot of concrete. There's some hazard tape.
Lots and lots and lots of black T-shirts.
There are lots of black T-shirts, and that cannot be understated.
No.
So I think the hall's up ahead.
I think too what we should say.
Lots of Dippin' Dots too. And we are walking into the main event hall now. And is this the main hall, Lisa?
I don't know. There's a big drop pod in the middle.
I'm fairly certain it's not a drop pod.
Oh.
I got to tell you, though, if this is it, I'm a little underwhelmed.
I would agree.
This can't be it. Lots of black tables.
No, this can't be it.
Lots of Monsterpocalypse action. This may just be like an open gaming area. Information. We're going to go ask for some information.
Yeah. Gaming area, huh?
Okay, so yeah, this is not actually the main hall. This would be a generic area for gaming, and now I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, because looking at the map the guy showed.
Because we're looking at probably, I would say, 2/3 of the surface area, or the square footage of Games Day, back in the big day when it was huge in '99. And it's just set aside for games.
Yeah, I would
like
say
events
it's as
and
big
pickup
as
games.
Picture a hockey rink size with all the seating area flat.
Yeah.
That's just for CCG.
Yeah. Well, no, because there was some Monsterpocalypse going on there too. I think that is a gaming area for events and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So okay. And judging from the map that the very nice gentleman at the information booth showed us, the actual hall that we're looking for is probably roughly 4 times the size of the room we were just in.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna go try to find that next.
Yeah. So see, when you're expecting this huge convention and you walk into this tiny little hall, it feels like you missed out on something. And then the guy at the information booth was like, "Oh yeah, this is a general gaming room." Crazy. That it was about the size of 2 basketball courts maybe?
Yeah, definitely. It was huge. It was awesome.
And it was just for open gaming and for tournament play. There are lots of card games and a lot of Monsterpocalypse going on. We ended up having to go back towards the main halls, and then we found the convention center, and it was mind-blowing.
Personally, I don't know how they could have missed a giant D20 die dedicated to Gary Gygax in front of the entrance hall, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think we came in from the back, but thank you for that comment.
Okay, so we found Exhibit Hall D, which is roughly the size of, an airport.
Yeah.
So it's kind of embarrassing that we couldn't find it. And we're new, and this is the big reveal. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of getting nervous. It's pretty big. Thank you. And the quality of the sound must have just changed. It's ridiculous. You actually can't see anything because everything is so big.
Yeah, absolutely. And over and under.
There's Battlelore right there. My initial impression is my brain is about to shut down. So there's a field, literally a field of dice. I don't know what's Z-Man game. Oh yeah.
I think he's a guy with that.
Okay. Look, another field of dice. Alrighty. We are going to do some recon and then get back to the podcast.
So yeah, absolutely mind-blowing. It was huge. It defies description. How big was that exhibit hall?
I think I'm still reeling from it. How big was it? 5, 6, 7 football fields?
It was unbelievable, and it's just stretched on. You couldn't see the end of it because of all the different signs and the vendors and the booths would block your sight from the next one. And of course, some of the Upper Deck had a huge display. Fantasy Flight had a huge display. Privateer Press had several different displays, including a monstrously huge Monsterpocalypse inflatable that one of the big alien monsters that was just crazy.
Another huge display, it's not our cup of tea necessarily, was HeroClix. Remember all the live-action superheroes we saw doing the live-action games?
Oh, absolutely. They actually, wasn't it Miss Marvel that kind of ticked us off on the first day?
Yes.
There were Miss Marvel, Daredevil, Spider-Man, and what's his name? Richard Richards. There you go.
Fantastic.
Exactly. And these were actors walking around in costume all weekend long. And obviously the girl playing Miss Marvel was pretty hot, and her costume was
pretty good.
Pretty good. But the sneer on her face was immovable. And because we weren't dressed up in any way, so we sort of blended in with the more quote-unquote normal people. And we were crossing the Sky Bridge back to Marriott, I think it was Friday, and these 4 actors were coming out of the Marriott towards the convention center, so they had just walked through a huge room full of gamers. And as we were opening the door, I guess we weren't on her radar, because she turned to the guy playing Reed Richards, or whatever the guy name was, and said, "Oh my God, did you see those people?" I'm like, look, you're taking coin for doing this, lady, okay? Don't you be mocking the people that you came to entertain. That's right. As a former actor, that really, really annoyed me. Very, very unprofessional. But that didn't change the fact that she was really hot.
But her hotness factor did not outweigh her annoying factor, therefore that's why we can talk about it now.
Exactly. We were very annoyed.
And the other guys, they didn't seem to have a problem with anything. They seemed cool.
No, they seemed. In fact, the guy who was playing Richard Reed, the guy with the Fantastic Four costume, was actually looking really excited. He didn't really look like a superhero, but he looked really excited.
Yeah, actually, the thing that you mentioned about us being dressed as normal people, I don't know about the rest of you two, but I actually felt kind of dressed not for the occasion. Do you know what I mean?
Dressed down.
Dressed down, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point.
The D6G shirts that we were wearing actually kind of set Rafe and I apart a little bit, and we felt sort of like we were on the outside looking in, which was good sometimes and then bad sometimes, because you kind of felt like you weren't, like people would look at you and they would see, oh, by the way, awesome little side note, we got press passes, Gen Con, Karen, working through the Gen Con press office, working together, they got us press passes, which was awesome. We got into everywhere, and everybody was willing to talk to us, and they were all awesome. So people would see our press passes, and they would see us instantly as a cool resource, but almost not like part of the action.
Right. I did not get a press pass.
No, Sid, we tried to pass Sid off as Russ, but he looks nothing like Grim Angus.
I have no clue why they didn't believe me, but what can I say?
It could have been the Asian cast to your features.
Wait a second, I'm Asian?
We'll save that for another show. So anything else about the costumes?
No, just for me, just the amazing, and this might segue into what Sid noticed, the amazing self-confidence that we saw with the people, especially the women folk wearing their costumes. It was really cool to see people comfortable in their own skin and wearing sometimes lots of skin, wearing their costumes. And Sid made a really astute observation.
Yeah, I think I think there was a critical mass population effect with gamers, and we all know you go to game conventions, you see certain people wearing certain costumes, you're okay with it, everybody's comfortable. You don't tend to see a lot of really, really, like a woman that would turn every head in a bar, at a gaming convention. It's just usually not the kind of person that hangs out at a gaming convention. Apparently, once you get 80,000 gamers together, they come out of the woodwork, and they all want to wear chainmail bikinis. And I thought it was both intense and intimidating, really. And Sid noticed something. I don't think we're going to get into it right now. We're going to save it for another episode. But Sid, could you summarize your observations in a couple sentences?
I'm still kind of working on it right now. But essentially, what I noticed was these women were absolutely beautiful, and to a certain extent, gamers, guys. I mean, we've got our own charm with us, but let's just say, I don't know how the hell they landed women that hot, but seriously, these women were beautiful. So I'm still working on it.
Sid's theory revolves around the fact that gamer women are looking for something other than what your average run-of-the-mill woman at a bar is looking for. And I think there's definitely a segment in there in the future. We're just trying to do it so we don't upset anybody. The costume concept actually kind of segues into something that we noticed later on in the week that Sid alluded to, which was Thursday and Friday. It was awesome. It was the whole city was welcoming, and you felt comfortable, and you felt great about being there. Saturday, something changed. Okay, this is D6 Generation Report on Saturday, and we've noticed a lot of changes from Thursday and Friday.
A lot of changes. Number one, I would say 3 times, if not 4 times, the amount of people in the same space.
The amount of people has
Yeah, but no, seriously, our frustration level is probably double. You're trying to walk through the convention hall's crowd, and then you have someone with, a backpack. And
the backpacks have got to go, people.
That and the black shirt, it's like, you got to have your backpack awareness. It's just incredible.
You have to be aware that your body now extends a foot behind you.
Yes.
Okay?
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Now, the only other major difference that I noticed, and it's bothering me more than it's bothering Rafe, and I'm not sure how Sid feels or if he's noticed, is that because it's Saturday, the city it's more full of non-gamers as well.
Yep.
And for the first 2 days, there was a zero judgment zone in Indianapolis. And you had people dressed in, they were dressed.
Leather gauntlets.
It was crazy. And I never saw a single person getting a strange glance. It seemed like all of the vendors and the restaurant people were just really happy to have the business. Now you've got a bunch of normal people with quotes around it. And they're in Indianapolis too. At the same time, there's something going on with the Colts. They're either having an exhibition game or a practice where they've invited the public because there are lots of Colts fans all dressed up outside too, and the judgmental edge is a little heavy with them to the point where I overheard some really unfortunate comments from 4 Yentas sitting next to us in Einstein Bagelry, and there's been a bit more of that, which to me makes it sad because I kind of felt, wow, we were in an oasis. Rafe and I were talking about it this morning. It was kind of like a dream come true. You died and went to gamer heaven, and anything went, and everything was accepted. And I feel like we're not really there anymore. We were very disappointed in the Yentas. Sid mentioned the new football stadium for the Colts opened to the public on Saturday. So the city was not only full of gamers, but it was all of a sudden full of Colts fans also. And most of us watch football. So I mean, we're not that kind of gamer where we hate people who are interested in sports. But there's a certain stereotype that goes along with sports fans, just like there's a certain stereotype that goes along with gamers. And we noticed that there were a lot more judgmental looks and comments going on after the people came into Indianapolis for the Colts. Rafe, what about what happened at Einstein's Bagels that morning?
Yeah, so Craig, I didn't overhear it. So Craig heard these 4, can I say the word? Yentas, and they were regaled out in their football gear, no big deal. And there's this, young woman in line, and she had, I think just a simple dress and a leather headband. I mean, no big deal. And I didn't hear this, but Craig did. If I did, I would have said something. And what he heard was they were kind of making fun of this girl and saying she needs to wake up and she needs to deal with reality or something. And I thought when Craig told me that, man, how hypocritical is that? I mean, here they are wearing their rhinestone upside-down horseshoe foot, and they have the nerve to make fun of a girl wearing a leather headband? I mean, and I would have said something, I think, because I was kind of high and heady from Gen Con.
But there was a definite change in the atmosphere once the Colt fans got there, and that wasn't all the Colts fans. In fact, most of them were cool, and they were, hanging out and chatting up also. In fact, there were many gamers in the hall who had Colts paraphernalia on also. So there's a lot of intermingling, but just enough of the people there were now judgmental that it sort of changed the feeling a little bit. Yeah. And that was unfortunate. A couple other quick things that we noticed, or that we saw, the auction. Ooh, yeah. I think the auction runs almost 24 hours, I swear. And it's like live eBay, basically. You can just bring your own stuff, and they auction it off, and they take a certain percentage. I think a lot of that goes to Gary Gygax's favorite charities, Fisher House. The Fisher House was the primary charity this year, and the Fisher House is a series of homes that are upkept by this company, or by this group, for soldiers and their families near military hospitals because they can't afford
to stay in that area on their own. And so Gary Gygax apparently was really big with that, and a lot of the money that was raised in his name this year went to the Fisher House organization, and a lot of that came from the auction. The auction was great, and in particular, Sid pretty much got tired of it quickly and sort of wandered off. I was sort of in awe, and Rafe got so swept up in the moment that he probably spent double what he could have gotten. No? Okay.
No, I bid on an old, what's that called, Sid?
Knights of the Dinner Table.
Yeah, Knights of the Dinner Table. It said retail value $12, and I paid $9. Or it was $9, or I paid $6. I can't remember.
True. And, the auction was just crazy. Just listen to a couple seconds of the auction action.
This is Thieves World 6, graphic novel. I do need $5 for Thieves World 6, the graphic novel. For the Ravenloft Realms of Terror box set. A couple of high-number dragons, number 188, 193. How many people have the Dragon CD compendium? We have Price of Freedom, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. $1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 over here. $8. $30. Man knows what he wants. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. 50. You want a 50? This man knows what he wants. Feel free to chime in from time to time.
Amazing. And so that was another thing that we saw, the games everywhere, every room in the convention center. And I think Rafe lowballed the figure, because I think there had to be 100 rooms, and we're talking huge conference rooms and small conference rooms and big ballrooms. Every one of them games, just wall-to-wall tables of games. And those games, we were there till 3 o'clock in the morning one night and 2 o'clock in the morning most nights. Okay, so we're standing in the lobby of the convention center.
Yep.
We just played our first game of Battlestar Galactica.
It is 11:35 p.m.
11:35
p.m. And the place
p.m.
is hopping. You'd think you were
still
in
hopping.
New York City or Vegas
Absolutely.
right now.
So Rafe has decided that what he's going to do is he's going to give the 8-sided die that came with the game to the Gary Gygax dice collection, and we're going to replace it tomorrow with a new 8-sided die.
Yes.
So Rafe wanted to say a couple words before we put it in the giant 20-sided die tomb of the Gary Gygax dice collection.
To Gary Gygax, thank you for giving us worlds of pleasure.
Worlds of pleasure.
Worlds of pleasure. And geeks everywhere the opportunity to hot chicks.
More on that later. And we were not the last to leave. There were still games going on. It was unbelievable. And every game you could possibly imagine. Much to their dismay, Rafe and Sid got all excited about a game that they found out as soon as they were done playing was out of print. What was that game called?
Scallywags.
Scallywags is a fun card game. I was watching.
We like Cutthroats better.
And we found a much better game that we'll talk about in a few minutes. And, so, it was just games, wall-to-wall games, the best 4 days in gaming, absolutely. And we just can't wait to just tell you guys all the details in the upcoming episodes.
I have one last thing, too. One of our fans, the audio may not come through. It was so much background noise. His name's Mike. He found us. He's like, hey, the D6G.
He was the first guy, right?
Yes. Yeah, first guy. So shout out to Mike. And he was gracious enough to, he had bought a game I'm interested in called Agricola. We'll get into that later, but he was gracious enough to invite me. And unfortunately, we had gotten so many interviews the next day, I wasn't able to catch up with him. But he was very generous, and it was great to have a fan come up and say hi to us. And when Sid signs off on his side, by the way, Craig and I rolled in on style. Craig, why don't you end with that, and then maybe Sid can tell him about his exit in the limo.
Okay. We thought going into this that because we were paying an awful lot of money for a hotel room, there was probably going to be a shuttle, and there wasn't. So we had to arrange our own ride. And we went in, what would you say, 20-foot stretch limo?
Yep.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But that's how we rode the D6 generation. And Sid, I believe, took a limo on the way out and bumped into a couple people.
Yes, I ended up calling a limo and getting picked up at about 4:30 in the morning. I had to, of course, make that decision whether or not to go to bed at 2 o'clock and sleep 2 hours and wake up. But I just trucked through the whole night and caught a limo. I did meet two very, very nice people. The first of which was Mr. Lucian Solban is his name. He's actually a game developer. He developed a lot of modules for White Wolf, and unfortunately I didn't have a recorder or anything like that. Otherwise I'd try to catch a podcast for you guys and interview him. He did a lot of work on a lot of White Wolf games. He actually coded Rainbow Six Vegas, I believe. A lot of very cool stuff.
And we've actually got his information, and he agreed to get in touch with us later. So hopefully we'll have an interview with him sometime in the future.
That's correct.
And so the next thing we're going to talk about are the games that we played.
Hey, this is Mr. Ruffles, and the D6 generation rocks.
This is Eric Gable, the baddest man in gaming from Privateer Press, and you're listening to the D6 generation, and you better keep listening or else, sucker.
And we're back, and now we're going to be talking about just a few of the games that we played. We're not going to be talking in any detail either, because we played a lot of games, and we played them a lot. So what we're just going to do is a quick rundown of the games that we played and our initial observations, no reviews or anything, because that would just take way too long, and this is just supposed to give you a taste. The very first game we played when we hit the ground running was...
Monsterpocolypse.
Monsterpocolypse. We did a demo of Monsterpocolypse, and we have to say that we can't really give an opinion of Monsterpocolypse right now because the Privateer Press guys were really upfront about the fact that they didn't get the rules. The guys who were doing the demos didn't get the rules until the night before the demos. So we had the whole airplane ride to Gen Con to read the rules because we downloaded them. So I caught a bunch of things that were being done a little shady, a little different than the rules, and then a couple things that were completely wrong. We have a bunch of stuff. We're gonna do some demos on our own, and when we get to the Monsterpocolypse review for you guys, we're gonna have it all down and give you a better idea. Right now, I think I'd have to say that the three of us are a little iffy on Monsterpocolypse. Sid and I were the ones who played, and Rafe watched. And I would say Sid was ready to walk away from the table after turn one.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, I come from a Horde's War Machine background, where I enjoy the complexity and the various permutations of the game. And Monsterpocolypse is much simpler, especially in the demo versions, but I heard that there's a lot more options and things that are available to you. So maybe that my opinion will change.
Right. So we're gonna keep an open mind and move on. Thursday night, this is where these guys played their first game at night, and they played the game
Scallywags.
Scallywags is a card game that is now out of production, so we probably will never do a review of it because we don't want to get you guys all excited about a game you can't get in touch with. But I watched, and these two looked like they were having a lot of fun.
Yeah. I liked it. I mean, you had a chance to sort of build these pirates. It was a card game. It's kind of hard to describe, but it was fun. It was a fun little roundtable game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's just exactly how Hollywood described it. Just kind of a fun card game for I think 4 players, up to 4 players, and it was just real simple, real fun.
I think Rafe pays Sid to call him Hollywood. On Friday, we actually got our first real big scoop, which was Flying Frog Productions, the makers of Last Night on Earth and Growing Hunger, the expansion, rolled out a new game at Gen Con called A Touch of Evil, the Supernatural game. And I got a chance to play with Jason Hill, the designer. And while I was playing the game, and actually one of the actresses or models that modeled for the pictures, Rafe got an hour-long interview with Jason's brother Scott, and he's the business manager. And it was a windfall for us. It was awesome. It wasn't a demo. Jason ran a full game all the way through, and it was awesome. It was. A lot of people on Board Game Geek are actually calling this the game of the show, and I'm going to reserve that title of mine for a game that we'll talk about in a second. But this was a great game, very, 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 very deep, and multiple play modes. You can play. It supports up to 6 players, and you can play 6 players against each other. You can play 6 players all working together, or you can play in teams. And we've so far played competitive play and co-op, and both of them were a blast. It was absolute blast. So that was a big deal for us. Yeah. And in fact, Rafe, who didn't even play in the demo, ran out and got the game.
I think Sid did too. I'm the only. I played the demo and I didn't get a chance for my own copy. But these guys both picked up a copy and they're both very excited for it.
The one thing I have to say about that I really liked about the game, for those who've tried Last Night on Earth, is that there's no one that plays the bad guy. So you can actually play with 2 players and still have a full game and not feel like you're competing against like the game master.
Does it support 2 players?
Yep.
Oh, cool. Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome. So 2 to 6. The next game that we had a little tiny run-in with was Rafe's, the unicorn of Rafe's convention, the game he sought all weekend long, Agricola or Agricola, whatever you want to say. Anything about that, Rafe?
Yeah, I was jonesing for this game. I don't know. I want to play like some sort of farmer and farmer's wife, I guess. I don't freaking know.
He's a hermaphrodite.
I really wanted to find the game with Anna Meeples, which you can't get, and I didn't have a full demo, but that was fine. I went ahead and I did sort of a walkthrough, and it convinced for me that I do want to get the game, so I'm looking forward to picking that up from my local gaming store. So it looks like a great game.
Actually, that's a good point. We kind of actually picked up on this idea. Go to Gen Con to find all the cool games, and then buy them from your friendly local gaming store. That way, you give them business, you keep them running, and you don't have to carry tons of crap home with you. Because we learned that lesson, we did great, and then everybody gave us a bunch of free stuff. So we ended up toting a bunch of crap home with us anyway. But Agricola was Rafe's big holy grail, and he's still looking for it. The next game in our little list was another of Rafe's holy grails. He saw this the first day at the Fantasy Flight booth and desperately wanted to get in a demo. Unfortunately, he put off buying it until he did the demo, and then they were sold out. So that's another important lesson that we learned. You want to review that lesson, Rafe?
Yeah, the lesson is when you find a game and you like a game, buy it
at Gen Con.
At Gen Con, stand there and buy it, and also buying any game that's out of not out in production yet, not out of print, but you want to go ahead and get that game. A lot of people gave us a lot of tips, and I want to say I lost my train of thought now because I pushed the microphone stand down.
Okay, so that's it. Oh, a little nugget of wisdom that we'll never be able to recover. Sid, do you have anything to share on that?
Yeah, I'll share a nugget, as I always like to do. I actually went to Gen Con to try to compete in the War Machine Hordes tourney, but I actually just decided not to do that and walk around and enjoy the games and play test games. And I recommend anybody who does Gen Con for the first time to forget about the tourneys. The tourneys will always be there, but experience Gen Con for what it is, and then afterwards go for the tournaments.
Absolutely. And it just struck me that we're talking about all this in reference to a game that Rafe wanted to play, and we didn't mention the game. The game is Red November.
Oh, I thought it was No Marine.
Yeah, Gnome Marine is what he's calling it. Rafe, why don't you give us a brief overview of Red November?
I remembered my tidbit, too. My tidbit was there were so many games I thought I wanted to buy, and after I play tested them, I didn't. And there were so many games I didn't think I would want to buy, and after play testing them, I did. And one of those was Gnome Marine.
Red November.
Oh, I like Sid's name better. Fantasy Flight game, lots of fun, good beer and pretzels game. I wanted to buy it. I went to go buy it, and they were all out.
Okay, are you going to talk about the game at all?
No, because we're not doing any reviews.
Okay, you're a bunch of gnomes in a submarine that's burning, and you want to try to stay alive till you get rescued. That's basically Red November, or Gnome Marine, as it's known in Granger Law Firm. The next game, we didn't actually get a demo. They were so packed we didn't manage to pull off a demo, but we went to the Order of the Stick booth, the Giants in the Playground, and boy, that game looks good. Yeah, especially for those of you who are gamers, role players in particular, and you don't know about the Order of the Stick, go to giantsintheplayground.com and click on Order of the Stick. There's about 550 pages of webcomic there that you really need to check out. It's an awesome, funny, self-deprecating and commentating. I think I made up a word. That's bad. I start teaching in 3 days. Yeah, exactly. I'll try my best. And
A great comic, and the game looks like it really captures the flavor of that, where you get to be characters from the game wandering around a dungeon. If you want to be Belcor, the little halfling, the little evil halfling, you can do all kinds of nasty little evil things like that. There was one thing that we were a little leery on, and that was the playtime was like 3 hours, which is a bit much for what's like a rousing beer and pretzels game, but hopefully we'll be able to. We're keeping in touch with them, and they're hopefully going to be able to get us a demo copy, which of course will be going out to you guys after we're done demoing it. And we're hoping that they keep in touch with us. We get a chance to demo that game because I think it's going to be really, really cool.
And I think Craig, you told me too that might be out in print. So maybe those of us that like graphic novels, we can.
Oh, it is. It totally is out in print. I just saw it the other day at Myriad Games.
All right, cool. And that's a great segue. Talking about a 3-hour card game. The next segue is a great one. Talk about that, Craig. Cutthroat Caverns.
Okay. Cutthroat Caverns by Smirk and Dagger Games. We were introduced to this by Andrew, Hacksaw 76 on the Privateer Press forums. He's a friend of ours. We keep meeting up with him, and he's totally hooked us up in times past. And Andrew, we saw Andrew in the big gaming hall, and we were just wandering around looking for something to do at, I think, midnight. And he said, well, I've got this game up in my room if you want me to go get it. And he did run up and go get it, and it was Cutthroat Caverns, which is an awesome, awesome beer and pretzels game. I don't want to go into it too much because I want to do a full review later. Maybe we'll do a review of all the Smirk and Dagger games are all basically really fun, quick beer and pretzels games with some deep thought involved. But Cutthroat Caverns, imagine you're a party of chaotic neutral adventurers. You've battled to the bottom of a dungeon. You've got the talisman of ultimate power, and you're fighting your way back out of the dungeon again, and you kind of want all the glory for yourself. So it's all about trying to battle all the monsters that you meet on your way out of the dungeon while trying to arrange the demise of everybody else in the party.
And this is a card game.
It's a card game. It's an absolute blast. We played it with 6 players. I played it recently with 3. It scales well, as Russ would say. And it was an absolute blast. That's another one. I did not buy that. Actually, they were sold out, or I would have bought it. So that's a bad example. We all would have bought it, but they were sold out. The Smirk and Dagger booth was sold out. I picked it up from my local, friendly local gaming store the day after I got home. So that was a blast. And then for me, absolute game of the con for me was Fantasy Flight's Battlestar Galactica. And we have a full. Actually, it came out bad, but Corey is great, and he's gonna call us. We're gonna do another interview with him. So upcoming in the next.
Craig.
I'm about to say, Rafe. In the next couple of episodes, we'll have a full interview with the designer of the Battlestar Galactica game, Corey Koneska. And that is a name meant to be misspelled. Trust me. If you haven't looked at the cover of your Tide of Iron game, or he worked a lot on the StarCraft. Yeah, I misspelled his name 3 times before I got it right. Before emails stopped bouncing back to me. So we've already arranged for him he's going to call in. We're going to do an actual full interview with him because the sound was really bad in our interview. And he's great, and that game is awesome. Totally captures the story and the feel of the TV show, while at the same time, plenty of innovative mechanics.
Let me just say that Craig was a Cylon.
I played on Tuesday. I was a Cylon again. So I think the universe is trying to tell me something.
All right, so my 2 cents is not being a fan of the show. I just haven't watched it. I don't know that I like it or don't like it. And Craig bought it, and he wanted to play. I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't know the TV show. No way, man. The game was fun in and of itself. You don't have to be a fan of the show. You don't have to know the show. It was really a lot of fun. My game of the con was A Touch of Evil, but I would flip a coin and play either one in a heartbeat.
Absolutely, and it was a close call for me too, because Touch of Evil was beautiful. We did play a couple games that were not so we weren't so fancy on. We played a demo of the Fantasy Flight game's Anima Tactics, which is a combat game based on anime. And maybe it's because I'm not an anime fan at all. Sid?
I am not.
No.
Well, just
a little bit.
But
Yeah, and it seemed almost to be weak T version of Hordes and War Machines, sort of. There was. I mean, every model had a card, and you were moving around, but it just really felt limiting. And it was a demo, though, so I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more to the game than we saw, but a huge thick rule book. And it's just, I think right now my miniatures dance card is full. Rafe didn't play in the demo, but did you have any thoughts on it?
No, I did. No, my thoughts on it were while playing it again, I just rather be playing Hordes or War Machine. And I don't know if we're going to save this to the end, but I'll throw it in now. I have to say, when Legends comes out, is it out yet for people yet?
It shipped. It shipped.
Okay. I'm a PP fanboy, no doubt about it. All I have to say is awesome with a capital A. The fictional stuff is fantastic. The art is fantastic. Of course, I'm biased. I'm still buzzing from talking to Matt Wilson, but man, am I excited to break out my Khador. I don't know, Sid, if you want to throw that in at this point.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job with Legends. I think for those that wanted the Warjacks to be a little bit more viable, the uniques are all, from what I read, all seem really well done. And I think people will have a lot of fun with it. Just keep your eyes open for it. I'm a big PP fan as well, so I think that might have made me biased against Anima Tactics, but I found it a little more basic than I'm used to again.
And speaking of the Matt Wilson interview, we have got an awesome interview coming. We're going to have to get that out quickly, so we're looking at putting that into episode 14, mainly because it was a huge, long interview. Matt Wilson was great. Rafe sort of hit his PP fanboyness a little bit. He was good. I wasn't mean, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, that does sound bad. And Matt Wilson was just awesome. He talked about from his young boyhood, how he first got introduced to games, all the way through his career, and how he ended up starting Privateer Press. And an interesting side note, while we were doing his interview, one of his first bosses in the gaming industry randomly walked up to us and gave us a little unsolicited testimonial on what Matt Wilson was like way back when.
Yeah.
That was awesome, and that's coming up probably in episode 14. The last couple of games, we were hearing about Mutant Chronicles all weekend long, and we tried to get in a demo. The demo tables were pretty full all along, and eventually we just decided to hang out and wait on the last day, it was Saturday, I think, for a demo. While we were waiting, we got hooked into a demo of a little game Fantasy Flight has called Rattlesnake, which is a kid's game using these weird little elongated egg-shaped magnets, and you just put them on the game board on these little snakes, and I don't know. If I was a kid, I don't think I'd be able to do it. I mean, the motor skills required to be putting these little... You need to understand magnets and reversing the polarity, and I mean it was a lot more complicated than I would have thought for a kid's game.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it. Of course, I'm an adult, but I do have a 7-year-old and young kids, and I was like, meh. But they were already playing Memoir 44, so maybe it's for an age below that. I'm not sure. I wonder if Russ was there, if he would have thought his girls would have liked it.
When I saw the game, there were like 4 or 5 scantily dressed women there, so I don't even know the name of the game. So, sorry, guys.
You get an idea that there's one man in here who is not married. Okay. So, after Rattlesnake, we did get a chance to play Mutant Chronicles. And the interesting thing is there's some issues with the release schedule of Mutant Chronicles. So right now there's nothing. And they'll be shipping the starters.
Except at the D6G.
That's true. We actually have a small pile of stuff for you guys at the D6G. Under guard, my fierce German Shepherd is watching over it as we speak.
All I can say, folks, is bid a lot at our segments, or, I don't know, pay an advertising spot so we have the money to ship it.
I know. We've got a lot of shipping coming up. Which is also, we do need you to, we need some action on that stuff, because we cannot afford to ship this stuff on our own anymore. So we're not getting anything from all the money that you guys bid on these segments. It all goes right back into the show. So we need your help and your support to continue doing what we're doing. And we have a bunch of stuff on the burner now that's really going to need your help. So Mutant Chronicles playability, I liked it. It's got a very innovative mechanic. in how you build your armies. You've got to buy your models, also their special abilities, also the orders that you need to activate them. So there's a lot of really interesting interplay between all those things. The game itself, I think, has some depth to it. Unfortunately, with the release schedule right now, there's not a lot of models for you to get like a really nice, well-rounded force together. I bought a starter for myself. I actually played it last night with a friend of mine, and he enjoyed it. We're going to have to wait and see how the further releases affect the gameplay. Right now, there's only two factions. There's the Demon Legion of Algaroth, and there's the Capital, the U.S. faction. It's not really the U.S. because there's no more countries in the game story, but there's just mega corporations. But right now, what it looks like is the U.S., the Capital guys, are a little bit underpowered compared to the demons, although right now, in my experience, the Capital guys are winning more often than the demons, but it's a win where you feel like you're completely outmatched through the entire game until the very end. You guys have anything to add to the Mutant Chronicles?
Beautifully painted, pre-painted models. I'm, again, a fan of the paint-your-own stuff, but these were very well done.
A bigger scale, 54 millimeter, I think. It's a bigger scale than anything else currently out there.
It does have some very nice tactics involved. I'm excited to see how the game develops.
Yeah, for me, the miniatures caught my eye. I loved playing whoever did those hex tables. We played on, somehow, the Terrain Maker made these beautiful hex tables that were three-dimensional is what I'm trying to get at. They were beautiful. That made the game for me. I think that Mutant Chronicles is going to give Monsterpocalypse a run for its money. I loved talking with Eric Yapel, who's the designer for Monsterpocalypse. He's a great guy, and Monsterpocalypse looks good too. But I think Fantasy Flight's got a game that's going to give some competition in that genre of games. And so I think you guys, if you like hex games and you feel like you want to play, it was a fun mechanic. It was a fun game. I'm in Sid's camp. I think I'd rather just play Hordes or War Machine, but I wouldn't toss it down if somebody wanted to play real quick.
I think what Rafe is referring to as far as what the interesting thing to watch is going to be is that Fantasy Flight at the last minute chose to not go blind purchase with Mutant Chronicles. So both games have a vaguely similar gameplay in that they use non-standard labeled dice and an order mechanic. But the Monsterpocalypse is blind purchase collectible, and Mutant Chronicles is not blind purchase collectible. You know exactly what you're buying. So it'll be very interesting to see with the similarities in the gameplay how the two purchasing schemes go off together head to head. So those are pretty much the main games that we played, and we'll take one more break, and then we'll get back to you with a couple what we'd like to call miscellaneous stories that probably won't be fitting in anywhere else in our near future, so we're going to cover them right now.
I don't mind the bullets, the bombs, or the blood. I don't want money, and I don't need medals. But what I do want is for you to stand there in that black T-shirt and listen to the D6 generation.
I'm Katarina the Outlaw from A Touch of Evil, and you're listening to D6Generation.com.
Hey, this is Hacksaw76, and I want to give a shout-out to all those Merc players out there. If I've won Gen Con Hardcore, I was really lucky, but we're good.
We at the D6 Generation would like to pass along to our listeners in the Seattle area the announcement of a benefit Warhammer 40,000 tournament being held at the Seattle Battle Bunker on Sunday, August 31st. One of our fellow gamers in the area has suffered a terrible tragedy, and the community is banding together in an attempt to raise money to assist the family. Get in touch with the Seattle Battle Bunker for more information.
Okay, so this is our final segment for our super mini episode preview.
That has no number.
That has no number whatsoever. It does not fall into the numerical scheme of the D6 Generation production schedule.
Doesn't even exist.
It's a phantom episode. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we had a couple stories that don't really fit into reviews or anything like that. We're going to give those to you right now, a couple little Gen Con fairy tales. The first of which is a new company called Geek Chic. And Geek Chic is it's exactly what the name implies. It's trying to raise being a geek to a new level of social acceptability. And they have a new product that was all the buzz at Gen Con.
So, hey, this is Hollywood here. We're here before a beautiful gaming table, and we have someone here to tell us all about it. So introduce yourself, sir. I don't have your game tag. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Robert Gifford. I own the company. The Geek Chic is the name of the company, and we've decided that we were going to make a real quality gaming table, a commercially available gaming table, and it was about time. I think it was really Gary Gygax passing away, and it put a lot of stuff into perspective for a lot of people this year, but I realized, 30 years of role-playing gaming, 40 years of wargaming, and we're still not treating our hobbies with respect. We're not respecting our hobbies. How can we expect anyone else to respect our hobbies? And I said, well, to hell with it. We're going to make the greatest gaming table we could possibly imagine. And so we put this thing together. It's black walnut. It's hard rock sugar maple. It's an heirloom quality furniture.
No, definitely.
It's beautiful. It's all hand dovetails. It's a pretty amazing piece of furniture. We're real proud of it. It's got so many features it's hard to even describe. There's flip down desks for role playing gamers. There's dice channels for minis gamers. There's book storage on the end. There's just a ton of stuff. You have to get your hands on it.
Talk about the cup holders.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the cup holders. That's essential. Yeah, there's 6 cup holders, one at each gaming station. They split down beneath the game surface so that we can make sure that you don't spill on the game surface anymore. That's a real big important thing. And they slot into the bottom just like everything else with these kind of sliding dovetails. They're beautiful.
So to give you guys an impression, if you've ever watched the Antique Roadshow and you've seen those old antique heirloom sort of Jefferson era writing desks and things where there were the secret pockets and the little drawers, the little drawers, and that's what these do. These drawers seem to come in, pop out, slide in, slide out.
Absolutely, it's very
it almost has that hidden. I've always wanted one of those desks and it's like secret compartments. I don't know, but I somehow suspect there's secret compartments in this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually,
okay.
we built the thing so that it looks completely clean on the outside, but it's absolutely configurable. You can knock in the side drawers that are next to the gaming stations to get yourself enough room to get your player sheet, your books straight in.
And I'd have to say, did I hear through the scuttlebutt that there's an inset that just makes that a flat table? Because right now we're looking at maybe a 3-inch drop down to a gaming surface.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
There is an inset. Inset actually is double-sided. On one side you get your choice of a velvet surface. It's real nice for playing cards or board games and that kind of thing. On the other surface we have wood, walnut wood to match the table, or we actually do a copper top as well, an aged copper.
Oh, wow. Okay. So in other words, for our wives out there, I don't think any one of our wives would turn their nose up at having this table.
No, in fact, wives are the ones that are selling the tables. They come in and they say, why don't you have this? I'm tired of you taking my dining room table over.
Yeah.
Wow. I want this in my house. This is what I want.
I mean, it's clearly a piece of heirloom furniture.
I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. And did I hear correctly that right now it has a grid gaming surface on it for like a role-playing system?
Yes.
And is that lit from underneath, I heard?
It is. It actually has what I call it. We don't want to call it a light table because then people might think that they can use that to look at their negatives or something along like that. It's a little milder than that. Certainly, it's that we don't want to color temperature correct it. I know all the photography geeks out there are thinking a light table. It's delicious, but I don't want to call it a light table. It absolutely is uplit so that you can get light right through the satellite photographs that we use here.
Okay.
You can get satellite photographs. Let's say Shiloh. You want to play Shiloh? We'll get you at the right scale. You can play all the way across Shiloh. And don't pretend that's where the stand of trees is.
Oh my God!
You can get aerial photographs that they took the day before the landings at Normandy. You can get Omaha. You want to play Omaha? You can get your Flames of War miniatures on there, and you can crawl them right up the beach. Pillboxes and tank traps, the whole bit.
Unbelievable!
Wow.
Now, are those projections that you're using, or you can print out the?
No projections. They actually are on what amounts to be a sign vinyl, and they spud in. They basically are backlit signs.
I see, and that goes under. Oh, wow!
That's amazing.
Now, how did you get this idea?
Yeah.
Where did you? What resulted in you ending up where you are right now?
Yes, and you said to yourself,
No, I just started with this process of I said I'm going to make a gaming table and I'm going to make the best gaming table for myself. I mean, like I'm very much I play all kinds of different games and I wanted to make sure that I was satisfied. And so that was just kind of a great side effect that everyone sits down and you're like, what do you play? I got you covered because I play that too. And we've got all these different ways to access and use the table. It's great for standing. It's great for sitting. You fold the desk down so you can sit at it. You can stand up at it. There's just every way you can do it. We did a lot of work to make sure that it was absolutely the perfect thing that we could get.
What did you do before you launched the company? Where do you come from?
I produced theater and some video and film and that kind of thing.
Really?
I know, I'm kind of a weird entertainment guy.
I'm a theater teacher, so.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. I managed to. I call it grifting. I grifted.
There you go. I understand it completely.
But manufacturing is a whole new game, and
I was wondering if you were coming from a furniture manufacturing
woodworking background. I didn't know.
No, actually, the thing is that I kind of consider myself. I love geeks. I'm kind of a meta geek. You know, I'm interested in what other.
That's a good term.
I'm interested in what other geeks are interested in. I mean, I will just sit and talk about what are you interested in. That's my deep pleasure in life. Geeks are very interested in at least one thing. That's the definition of a geek for me. An insatiable curiosity at least about one subject.
Yep.
And so I over time I picked these things up. I found myself I know a fellow that was a wood geek, a guy who was absolutely into wood furniture. He said he would never call himself a professional, but as you look at this table, you think to yourself,
wow, you did this?
Absolutely. Wood, like between the pair of us, I designed it up. We put together, we prototyped it. This is the second prototype.
That's a credit to him.
Oh, absolutely. And geeks are powerful like that. They don't think that we don't think that we can do anything. But the thing is that we're often more expert than the people who even know it because we just can't stop ourselves. Yeah. We have to know more and more and more about anything.
Yeah. Now, if people want to learn more, where should they go?
We have a website. It had a development overrun. It's coming together as we speak. It's up right now. It's at geekchichq.com. So Geek Chic headquarters, Geek Chic HQ.
GeekChic.
Yeah, it's a French
HQ.com.
It's a French word. That's a French borrow word. So you might be sitting there trying to spell chic as in a sultan or the like, but it's not. That would be shake, I think.
No, I think it would.
You're right. It would be shake. Yeah.
Oddly enough, though,
and our audience would point you out about that too.
Would.
So you just saved us about 12 emails. So thank you.
Although, what is this? What is the name of this table to confuse the issue a little further with chic?
That's right. This is called the Sultan Gaming Table. We think that hit the right amount, the right tone of sumptuous. You know, this is the thing that elevates.
If you made your money in oil, this is what you should be gaming on.
If you made your money in oil, you should have 4 of them next to each other.
There you go.
We had a good year this year if you made your money in oil.
And tell us about how does one purchase a beautiful handmade heirloom table?
Gaming table. You got to get on the website. You got to find our contact information. You can buy it online. This is a big major purchase. You're gonna have to walk through the process with someone. Just buying it, just hitting the credit card, buy now doesn't really do it. You have to talk to somebody on our sales staff, but that's the process to get started. Yep. It's there on our website. There's some forms to fill out. Contact some people. We can call you. We can email you. We can get it done.
Now, are these made to order as you order them, or do you have a stockpile of them? And
we actually are actually behind in that. We have a lead time. Absolutely. At this point, it's 6 weeks. It kind of getting growing as it gets bigger.
Now, you just revealed yourselves on Thursday, right? Right here at Gen Con.
And I heard an accolade. A certain magazine of a little bit higher prestige than our podcast
has featured you.
Tell us about
Thursday.
that.
Yeah, Forbes magazine. That's a good thing.
Congratulations.
Came by and gave a real positive piece on this, and I think that's part of that's actually really what the whole thing is about too. Is that we're finding that you get a piece, you respect your games like this, you give yourself a piece that is going to be a focus point in the home, in the room, and all of a sudden things change. Forbes is here looking and saying, what's that? How does that work? This kind of thing, and you start to and people start to perceive you differently. And we've had people that weren't gamers at all come and look at the table prior to us being here at Gen Con. Of course, I don't think there's any non-gamers here at Gen Con.
No, I don't think so.
But they're out walking around near the dome.
Wearing cold shirts.
But they came and they looked at the table and they say, well, wow, what's that for? And you could say, Napoleonic miniatures. At which point, normally these people would glaze over for the social reject, need to evacuate.
Right.
But these people stop, they re-engage and say, well, that sounds interesting. How do you do that? And they just keep re-engaging, and pretty soon you're putting these people on the surface, and they're playing the games because it's a lead-in in a way that really it's
sort of conveys respectability.
I know
because of the pure quality.
It's a dirty trick, is what it is.
And I got to say, because we're on air too, I like the presentation that you and your staff are in. You're in the old Craig. What era is this? Is this
that'd be the 20s? I would say.
Pinstripe.
Everybody's all dressed up
with the old 20s fashion beanie hats and the ties. It gives a real nostalgic feel.
It's a beautiful rollout. It really is.
We wanted to make sure that people, we just had a feeling that we want to make people sure that it's kind of a throwback. It's from an era we're making this in a way when the last time that they made quality furniture, the last time that they really did that as a right thing.
Now, if we're not taking too much of your time, where do you, I mean, I know you just opened Thursday, but I'm already seeing in my head, are you going to have little coffee tables, little coffee gaming tables? Is that, even in just your mind's eye at this point?
Well, I can tell you that this next year is going to be really exciting, and in 2 months' time, we know that we're going to release another product that doesn't even have to do with gaming, but it does have to do with geekery, so keep your eyes out for that.
Okay. And will you give us a little exclusive? Will we keep in touch with you so we can...
Absolutely. You're the first person to ask for it, so I'll give it to the first person.
All right.
That's right.
Thank you.
We got it on tape. And one last question. If you're going to be wanting to put this Sultan gaming table in your house, how much is that going to cost you?
That comes to the spiel, but it's...
okay. It's worth it.
It is absolutely worth it. It's $9,650.
That's an interesting price point.
It is. Well,
$10,000...
right now, at this point, we're including delivery to the lower 48 on that price.
Okay.
That's probably about the next 6 months. We're going to try that and see. We just want to get this into as many people's houses as possible. We think it's important. But we think it's a great value. I mean, even it takes a minute to get your mind around. You're like, $35 for a book. That's outrageous, to walk away and go that way. But when you realize that, you spend $3,000 every 3 years on a gaming computer, we're way ahead of them. This thing's going to last you for 50 years, and in 50 years, your grandkids are going to fight over it.
Without a doubt. It is a little bit of a shocker, I think, maybe just because of... Right. Well, we buy dice for $2, and we're like, wow, that was expensive.
Right.
But in the realm of furniture, definitely not out of the way.
No, and if you were here to look at this, you would know that it's worth every penny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful piece of art.
Does your site accept financing? Have you gone that close yet and worked with a company that can do, those allied finance companies, stuff like that?
Absolutely. Well, we've been discussing with the finance companies. We haven't got it squared away yet. We've gotten a couple of rejections just based on the fact that we don't get to that step with them, but we're continuing to work on it. We'll try and get it. And if you want to get it right now, and if you really need to get the financing together, what we're telling people and what we should be doing is they're going to get a better rate if they just go to the local bank and they talk to a local bank and get that. Now, if you get it through us, it's going to be more expensive anyway. So just go to your local bank, talk to them, get an unsecured loan, and pay it off over time, because this is one of those purchases that you could actually pay off.
Unsecured loan, I say secured. That's definitely
that's beautiful.
Unsecured makes it easy. Secured makes it a little harder, but absolutely. No, it's going to be, it's a purchase you're never going to regret.
Yeah.
It's like a $5,000 television. $5,000 television is be dead in 7 years. This thing will still be going.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Robert.
Okay, so that is the Sultan, the game table, the Sultan. What did you guys think about that? Sid, you want to go first?
Sure. What I immediately noticed was that it's a very well made table. It's huge. It's any gamer's dream, really. It's almost like a craps table for those who've gambled, with like a pit area, but the area where the felt would be is sectioned off with a grid.
Yeah, one square grid.
A one square grid for people to play the miniatures on or whatnot. It was a very well made table. Price tag is, I guess, what are you, equivalent or?
It's up there.
It's definitely up there.
It's up there. The interview said.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's my impression. It was a real nice table.
Rafe, do you think there's someplace in the marketplace of gamers for this?
Ooh, good lead-in. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. I'm of two minds of this. A really cool table, had lots of hidden pockets and secret tray tables and secret spots. I watched that on the Antiques Roadshow, and I get all excited about that stuff. Would I buy the table? And it wasn't the expense. I don't think I would, in all honesty. The expense is up there. Would I probably spend my money somewhere else? The owner of the company was incredible. I wish him nothing but success. I hope that me saying this means that I'm an idiot and he's a genius and he sells tons of these. But I don't see our community shelling out that kind of dough, even though it's worth it. Now, what I'm looking forward to see is him making a little end table or a little coffee table or a little side table, not with a checkerboard on it, but just a table, and it has secret pockets and stuff like that. Now I'm into it, because it definitely was an heirloom piece of furniture.
It was beautiful, and the sales staff there were very well versed. They had their riff down pat. And I don't know. I don't know whether it's going to do it or not. I understand that their numbers indicate that gamers make more on average than your average American, but still, $10,000 for a gaming table, it seems a bit dear to me. But again, just like Rafe, I wish this guy all the success in the world, and I hope there's enough people out there that buy it and it really does do to geekdom what Geek Chic wants to do, and raises it to a level of acceptability that we haven't yet achieved. But it was definitely everybody, no matter who you talk to at Gen Con. Oh, did you see the $10,000 gaming table? Oh, did you see the $10,000 gaming table? I mean, it was everywhere, and we just stumbled upon it on our on Saturday. We decided it would be our day off because all of the game companies were doing so many events that they would be too busy. So we thought, fools that we are, that we would have a day off and we would just wander around. And I brought the microphone just in case. And we got more interviews on Saturday than any other day. And it was almost like the second tier, the guys that weren't really on the radar, they were really hungry for the publicity. I mean, some of them. Others were a little hesitant. They all were really happy to talk to us in the end. But the Geek Chic people in particular were really excited to get their word out, mainly because I think they had just received word about the Forbes.com coverage. So that was story number 1. Story number 2 is a little more personal. It is, again, Andrew Hacksaw76. And his story revolves around a new model, Epic Eyriss, that came out at Gen Con, and a little wish that Andrew had from when he was a little boy.
Okay, we're talking to Andrew, and go ahead. He's holding a beautiful model in his hand.
All right, through trials and tribulations of Gen Con, I decided that I needed the new Epic Eyriss figure in my hardcore army. But as you know, hardcore has a fully painted requirement.
Yeah.
Right. Makes it tough. You only have one day or so to get her done, and I'm not that skilled of an artist that I can do a good job in that time. So, I did. I took her out of the blister, and I said I have to build her. So I went to the Reaper Miniatures booth, and I saw their sculptures off to the side. And I said, hey guys, let's make a drug deal. I need this figure assembled, and I need the base completely done with like some green stuff and some textures. And they said, all right, what are you going to do for us? I said, how about I get you one copy of this miniature in return? And they said, okay. And I was amazed.
Yeah, sounds great.
20 minutes later, I had a fully assembled Eyriss with a custom base from Reaper Miniature Sculptures.
Very nice.
Right, and then after that, I went to Matt DiPietro, who happens to be the studio painter for Privateer Press. I said, hey, Matt, we were talking earlier about how fun it would be for you to paint Epic Eyriss again since you got some negative criticisms on the original. And he said, sounds good to me.
And this was today?
This was today. So here I am, 6 hours later, holding a beautifully painted Epic Eyriss.
Beautifully painted Epic Eyriss.
Yeah, the
with
brickwork
a
is
signature from Matt DiPietro.
Oh,
man,
that's a lifelong
that's
collection
great.
right there.
And she will be making an appearance in my hardcore army tomorrow.
That is awesome.
And then she will go into the prize pool for TempleCon 2009.
Wow.
Oh, really?
I'm a generous man.
Yes, you are.
Yes,
Over
you
generous,
are.
some might say.
Yes.
Wow,
So
and
we're
that's
really
a beautiful
excited about
model, too. That is fantastic, Andrew. That was a great story.
It all happens at Gen Con.
Hey, it all happens at Gen Con.
model.
So that's pretty awesome, actually, that they did that for him and that he's going to be actually putting that up as one of the prizes at TempleCon. You saw the model. What did you think?
I like the model. Craig makes fun of me because the Angel of Retribution, that's her epic name, sits on like a little chimney stack or a little brick corner wall, if you would. I think it's really cool to see terrain like that modeled into a figure. Sid, what do you think?
Oh, I thought it was a really nice painted model. I like the model sculpt. I liked it better than the first incarnation where I don't really know what the hell Eyriss was doing. But, I think it was really cool that he got it assembled by someone else and painted by someone else to use in the hardcore and then a prize for the next TempleCon.
That's all. And that's Andrew all the way.
Yeah.
Andrew is just the nicest guy. He will hook you up. He will do everything he can. And he doesn't look nice. He actually has a bit of a brutal look to him. He looks like he could rip you in half. But he is the absolute nicest guy you could possibly meet.
Do you think he could hook me up with that girl in the chainmail bikini?
I think you're married.
I didn't ask that part.
No, I don't. I don't think Andrew knew the girl in the chainmail. The thing about the girl in the chainmail bikini that Rafe keeps alluding to that I thought was odd was that she was hanging out with a bunch of Imperial troops. 2 scout troopers, a stormtrooper, an Imperial fleet officer, and the girl in the chainmail bikini.
Maybe she was Princess Leia.
She was a rock star.
She was that was Sid's term for all these 10s walking around in costume. She was not a Princess Leia because there was a Princess Leia there. But she was just in a generic chainmail bikini, which I have to assume could be very painful in the wrong circumstances. But anyway, so that is our sneak peek coverage, and we're going to take one more break, and we'll sign off, and we'll end this pirated, hijacked episode, or non-episode of the D6G.
Crusader's Strange Love from Milwaukee, and I just want to say that Menoth rocks.
Hello, this is Sean Swaggart with Gale Force 9, and I'm listening to the D6 Generation Podcast.
Buying a new game is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get till you open it, and then it's too late. Unless you listen to the D6 Generation, and then it's like poking your finger in the bottom of the chocolate, and you can only pick the ones you like.
Dice are our vice.
And there you go. That is our super secret non-episode for Gen Con teaser. And that's it. Any last thoughts?
I just want to say thank you to the D6 Generation for letting me sit in on this super secret podcast. This is Sidalicious signing out.
And we want to thank you, Sid, for all your help. You were awesome at Gen Con. And Rafe, anything?
Nope. Just looking forward to when we get into the episodes in full and we can talk about these things in full.
Oh, absolutely. We cannot wait to start talking about this stuff in more detail. So that's it for us. We're going to sign out here, and we will see you next week when we air episode 14, and Russ is back with us again. So until then, happy gaming, game on, and good on you, mate.
I'm not the kind to kiss and tell, but I've been seen with Farrah. I've never been with anything less than a 9. So fine, I've been on fire with Sally Field, gone fast with a girl named Bo, but somehow they just don't end up as mine. It's a death-defying life I lead. I take my chances. I've died for living in the movies and TV. But the hardest thing I ever do is watch my leading ladies kiss some other guy while I'm bandaging my knee. I might fall from a tall building, I might roll a brand new car, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that made Redford such a star. I've never spent much time in school, but I've taught ladies plenty. It's true, I hire my body out for pay. Hey, hey, I've gotten burned over Cheryl Teague's, blown up for Raquel Welch. But when I wind up in the hay, it's only hay. Hey, hey, I might jump an open drawbridge or Tarzan from a vine, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that makes Eastwood look so fine.
Achievement unlocked. You've made it to the end of
a special Gen Con mini episode of the D6 Generation.
the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@thed6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, You can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 1 week. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.